email me at rockyd@wtma.com. You can instant message me at rockyd1250. In the studio with us right now, in the hot seat, off to the other side there. Oh, am I on film? Hi, Mom. But in the NFL, you get a bonus for that, don't you? Sitting right next to me, the Constitution Party candidate for President of the United States. It is Chuck Baldwin. Hey, Chuck.
Hey, good to be with you. Thank you for letting me come in.
You know, it'd be really cool if someday I could just say President Chuck.
Ah, that would sound good to me.
How would that be? Why? I ask every candidate the same two questions to start off with. First of all, in 30 seconds, tell me who Chuck Baldwin is.
I am the candidate for president on the Constitution Party ticket, and if you are not happy with the choices the two major parties have given you, then you can vote for someone and not against someone by voting for Chuck Baldwin.
All right, why do you want to be president?
I supported Ron Paul whenever he was running for the Republican nomination, as probably many of you out there in the audience know. If Ron Paul had become the nominee for the Republican Party instead of John McCain, I would not be doing what I'm doing. I would still be supporting him. Ron Paul was the only candidate of either party that was giving the American people the message, I believe, that is going to preserve and protect our liberties and our freedoms. No other candidate from either party is warning the American people about these two parties and the direction that we're going. As a result, the message of constitutional government, the message of freedom, of independence, of national sovereignty is being lost in public debate. If Chuck Baldwin is not here in the general election season to give this message to your listeners today, the message disappears. And so we must preserve that message of freedom, that message of constitutional government, that message of liberty, or the American people will not have a viable choice in 2008. And so I am determined that as long as I'm in the campaign, the message of freedom, of constitutional government, will be able to get out to the American people. And thank you for letting me come on your show and give the message.
Right.
That's correct.
The Constitution Party candidate, Chuck Baldwin. The numbers are 556-1250, star 1250, or toll-free 800-737-1250. You can also send me an email at rockyd@wtma.com. You can instant message me at rockyd1250. I don't know if you can see it. There's a picture of me and Ron Paul. He sat right there.
Yeah, that's a good picture.
Yeah. He came through. I liked him. I mean, he's a good guy to talk to. A lot of people, when he was up campaigning against all the other Republicans, were critical of his presentation and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if you get him one-on-one, I think anybody's better one-on-one, though. So.
Well, Ron is a genius. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
He knows more than just about anybody else on Capitol Hill, especially when it comes to economics. And there's nobody up there that knows any more than he does when it comes to what America needs. He's the one of the very few congressmen in Capitol Hill in either party that when he takes that oath of office and says that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, really does mean it. Mm-hmm. And that's what sets me apart from the other candidates. When I become President of the United States and I take that oath of office, Rocky, I mean it. I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, they don't follow it very well. I mean, I often, when they were looking for they were looking to make a Bill of Rights and a Constitution in Baghdad, for the new Iran, for the new Iraq. And, whether you agree or disagree why we went in there and all sorts of, the fact is we're there now. Something has to be done. You can't just walk away and let the thing fall into a black hole. I mean, that's worse than going in and attacking them in the first place. But I said, why don't we just give them our Constitution? We're not using it.
Yeah, well, that's what Jay Leno said. I was watching
right?
Jay Leno one night. Why would they need a new Constitution? We're not using ours. Let's give them ours. So I think it's well put.
There's things in the Constitution that are never used, like the Equal Protection Law. Is that the 14th Amendment? How can you have that when you allow illegal aliens to run around here and be illegal?
Look,
John, isn't that a direct abridgment of that?
Well, the Constitution in Article 1 requires the federal government to repel invasion. Mm-hmm. And what we have going on south of the border is not simply illegal immigration, Rocky. It is an invasion. I just came from the border a few weeks ago, and let me tell you, however bad you think it is, it's 10 times worse than that. It's a war zone down there.
Oh, yeah.
And our people are under assault. They're under attack. I mean, it is absolutely criminal the way this administration is not securing our border. We take our National Guard troops from America, we send them to Iraq, and ask them to guard the borders of Iraq and leave our own country's borders wide open. Now tell me that makes sense, Rocky.
Hey, look at this in a historical sense. Didn't we protect Kuwait?
Yeah.
Kuwait's sovereign right, to be a separate nation from Iraq and keep Iraq from swallowing them up.
Exactly.
Yeah, yet at the same time, about 140 years ago, right here in this nation, Our government did exactly the opposite.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know, I mean, I don't know where we would be today if the Confederate United of the States of America was a sister country to the United States of America. I think they'd all reunited sooner or later anyway. I think World War I would have done it. But the thing is that at the same time, it's the same principle. We did the same. We protected a foreign nation's right to be a sovereign nation, and forgot about our own rights. So.
Well, what we have going on is really, look, as I said all over the country, you know, on this campaign, I've said, look, the real battle today, Rocky, is not between Republicans and Democrats. It's not between liberals and conservatives. Those titles mean very little. The real battle is between globalists and Americans. You either believe in the sovereignty of the United States, you believe in our national independence, you believe in our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence, and you want our country to govern itself according to those documents, or you believe that we should merge ourselves into a global entity, that we should have international government. And let me tell you, John McCain is a globalist, Barack Obama is a globalist,
Yep.
I'm an American. And I'm going to put America first, and we're going to protect our borders, we're going to protect our Constitution. We are not going to allow the United Nations and its subsidiaries to dictate foreign policy. We're not going to use our troops for UN purposes as UN peacekeepers and nation building and empire building and everything John McCain wants to do. We are going to do what is right by our country alone. And until we elect leaders, especially in Washington, D.C., Rocky, that are willing to do that, there's going to be no change of direction no matter which party is in power.
They're too similar, not enough different. I mean, I know that, you know what? Let me tell you what makes people think that John McCain is a conservative guy. There's only one thing that does it, and it happened recently. Barack Obama makes him look like a right-winger. I mean, how left-wing you got to be to make John McCain look like a conservative right-winger? John McCain never calls himself a right-winger. I'm a right-winger, man. Let me tell you. Here's my idea for the United Nations. I call them the useless nations. First of all, they never intervene in anything where we really need them. Where are they in this Georgia thing? They ran and hid, didn't they? Where are the blue helmets out there?
What do they need to do? Because they manipulate our foreign policy, Rocky. We are doing their bidding. We are their water boy. Look, again, whether you agree with what George Bush did in 2003 by invading Iraq or not, I understand that it's a moot issue at this point. But let's go back to 2003 a minute. Right after George Bush decided to invade Iraq, he made an appearance at the United Nations. You probably remember this. As he addressed the United Nations, he was explaining why he sent our troops to Iraq. And you can go look it up on the government website and see if I'm telling the truth or not. This is what he said.
It's all on record.
It's all on record. Here's what he said. He said he sent the troops to Iraq for the purpose of preserving the integrity, the credibility, excuse me, let me get the right word, the credibility of the United Nations. Now that's his quote. Now, Rocky, I didn't know that the United Nations had any credibility worth saving. And yet, why would the President of the United States stand up in front of that body and say, the reason I sent American troops to bleed and die in Iraq was to protect the credibility of the United Nations?
Have you been there in New York, the United Nations? I've been there. You ever been inside there?
I have not been inside of the. In fact, what I want to do is I want to get the United Nations out of New York City.
Oh, I got an idea for you then. See? I've been in the United.
I don't want to go there. I want to eliminate the place.
For 20 months, which felt like 10 years, I lived on the Jersey Shore. And I went into Manhattan all the time, or as they call it there, Manhattan. And I used to see the United Nations. I can tell you what the United Nations is doing, what the delegates there are doing. I can tell you what they're doing. They're double parking in front of fire hydrants, going to Broadway shows, fancy restaurants, and renting hookers. This is what they're doing. And anybody from New York, you listening to me? You know I'm telling you the truth. Here's my idea for United Nations. Maybe you can take this one, Chuck. I'd say we take the United Nations building we have in New York, turn it into a mini mall and some condos. That's fine. And then we take the actual United Nations and move it to the northern tip of Greenland. Right? With 2 restaurants. And let's see how serious they all are then about world peace. Because they're not doing that stuff in New York. They're heading to the street with hookers and I'm telling you, that's what they do.
Well, I don't care where they go as long as they get out of the United States.
They're not doing us any good. Chuck Baldwin is here, Constitution Party candidate.